So here's some examples of some pretty awesome stencils, but I'm going to show you how some of them, though they look pretty awesome, are going to have some issues. We're going to look at these two examples here, and then we're going to actually look down at this example and why it is going to work, even though it looks almost identical to the one above. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check out Jimi Hendrix right here. Everything that is in black is going to be removed from the paper. All that space is going to be removed from the paper. So what that means is everything that is not connected to, well, in this case, it's that pink color, or in other cases, if you're working with something right here, not anything that's not connected to that white space will not be connected to the paper that is going to make up your stencil. So for example, everything inside of Jimi Hendrix's face will be lost. It will not be connected to the stencil. So what we're going to do is connect all of those pieces using a couple of tips and tricks. The easiest way to do this is to grab a rectangle and to make that rectangle just connect between those 2 points. What you'll then do is hold down Shift when the rectangle is selected. Hold down Shift, select your traced vector, go up to here to Boolean operations and click Subtract. That's cool, but it looks a little weird. So let's go ahead and try a different way. I'm going to just delete that real quick. What I like to do to make things look a little bit more professional is zoom on in. What we'll do next is grab the pen tool, and from grabbing the pen tool, we're going to find a point where we can connect to. So I'm going to let's just grab this point right here. Let's make a pen tool connection, zoom out slightly, and let's connect right here. Let's go on up to this point, and let's connect about right there. I'm then going to connect the dots. Let's add a fill, take the stroke away, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bend things around. I'm actually going to change this to be all the way red so I can see it a little bit better. Let's go ahead and grab our bend tool, and I'm going to bend this down a little bit just so it has a nicer curve and doesn't look so awkward. Let's bend this down also. I can even, if I want to, click on here. I can bring these back up. I can move where those angles are coming into. So if I want to kind of soften that angle, I can also go back to my selection. I can bring this in here if I want to kind of curve some things. So you get to play around with that. You get to choose what you think looks best, then click done. Hold down. This is going to be our cut we're making through the stencil, or we're connecting, I guess what you could say, the stencil paper together. Hold down Shift when you've selected that stencil. You should have both that new vector you'll see over here on the left, and you'll also see up here I have that image traced vector. Then you're going to go up to Boolean operations and subtract. Looks a little better, I think, but anyways, you can probably play around with that and make it look awesome. Let's connect the eye right here. As you can see, this part of his eye will not be connected to the face. So let's go ahead and grab that pen tool again. And let's connect right here. And let's try to find a space where that connects actually on the grid line. Okay, let's just go right here is close enough. Let's connect right here. And let's go in and make that a little bit smaller of a connection. Bring those together. Let's take the stroke away, add a fill. Let's make that fill red so I can see it a little bit nicer. Let's zoom out. Let's click our bend tool. Let's make that bend a little bit nicer. We might even bend it this way. Let's make this bend outwards so it kind of goes with. I'm going to zoom in here ever so slightly. I want to see if things can actually be bent. Whoops. Let's go ahead and just bend that a little bit more so it looks like it kind of matches and actually goes with this line. I know it's not perfect, but with the stencil, it's going to be almost microscopic. Let's click done. While this little cut is selected, hold down Shift, and we're going to subtract. Okay. Now that looks a lot better. For this one, it's not going to connect at all. What I'm going to do is just make a rectangle over this. Let's make that rectangle black. And let's go ahead and select the rectangle as well as my traced vector. And let's just go ahead and union that. Sorry, let's go and union that. Okay. So now I have just that right part of his eye is going to be completely darkened. Doesn't really have much detail to it. All right, so far, so good. We have this piece of paper connects to his face. The outline of his nose looks good. The forehead to the eyeball. Now his mouth is not going to connect. So we want to do some things here that are going to connect that space together. To do that, let's go ahead and grab our pen tool. Let's find a space on here that's pretty close. Let's go with this right here. And let's try to connect this here. Let's go ahead and click on here. And let's try to find a space on the grid that's pretty close to being connected. That looks good for me. Again, you should be pretty familiar with this by now. Let's subtract. Let's add the fill. Let's make that red just so I can see it better. Let's grab our bend tool. Let's bend this a little bit. Let's go ahead and bend this a lot So it kind of has a little bit of a, I guess, movement of his mouth, or the feel, I guess, trying to keep that original space. Let's click done. Hold down shift, select both the vector and that new vector you made. Let's go ahead and click on subtract. And I'd say that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, and that all connects. Some of these pieces might not connect at all. Like I might just go ahead and sacrifice this piece right here. It's not really going to connect, and that's okay. But I'll probably go in and connect this piece of his collar, and maybe even go in and try to connect this little piece as well. Some of these pieces are going to look awkward if I try to connect them, so you might have to sacrifice some of that. So when you're working on this, please be making sure, like this one of 21 Savage looks amazing. There's a lot of space where this is going to connect in and through. You're not going to have any issues or lose any details on 21 Savages except for those A's right here, which you might be okay with. So please make sure that all of your, kind of imagining the stencil as one large piece of paper that, well, it's not large, it's a piece of paper, but it all has to be connected. So I'm going to show you the difference between this one right here and the one right below it, and how you can kind of check and see to make sure you have pieces connected. For this one, there's a lot of detail, which is awesome, but there's also a lot of kind of what I would call islands, or things that do not connect to that overall stencil. So what I am going to show you is, if you started kind of doing this process of making rectangles and connecting pieces, you can click on Shift O, and you can see where all of those connectors are. So you can see that this student actually did a really good job of connecting pieces together, kind of making it almost was like a puzzle to try to connect everything and make sure that all of that stencil piece of paper will be connected when it's either laser cut, or if it goes into, I don't know, another cutting machine like a Cricut. This all will work. So again, Shift O kind of shows you where all of your pieces are. It shows you that traced vector outline. It also shows you where those details are. If you have to go back in, let's say if I want to edit this, move things around, I can. If you need to, you can actually go in when it's in Shift O and change things around. But it's not working for me right now, and whatever. We're just going to go ahead and click done. And let's hit Control Z a couple times. Oh, the joys of internet being slow. Anyways, I hope this helped. Let's go Shift O again. These stencils are looking awesome. They're looking great. Please make sure that you are paying a ton of attention to the details, making sure that all of your stencil connects to itself, or else it will not work, or you'll have a lot of missing pieces in your stencil before we spray paint. Alrighty, and please ask if you have any questions, let me know. This video was made for my students in class, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you don't know who I am or who my students are, sorry, I probably won't answer your questions, but have a great day anyways. Bye.